March means one thing. Basketball, basketball, basketball. Did you know that college players born in North Dakota are historically the most accurate three-point shooters? The NCAA is using Google Cloud to turn data into insights, and so can your business. See how at g.co/March Madness. Google Cloud, the official cloud of the NCAA.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do. Every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250-plus markets across the United States of America, from New York to L.A. and everything in between. Check your local listings. Plus ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style. Channel 80, number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Got a lot of stuff coming your way today. Seth Greenberg, college basketball analyst extraordinaire. He'll be on the show with us to evaluate and highlight and crystallize what transpired last night during the national championship game. Not that we need much to get into, because that was a beatdown. Other than the first 7 minutes of the game, Michigan had no chance. Villanova was clearly head and shoulders above them. They were clearly in a class by themselves. Michigan was overwhelmed, seemed ill-equipped to go against these brothers, and it is what it is. DiVincenzo. Oh, my Lord. This kid coming off the bench. DiVincenzo. Coming off the bench for Villanova, 31 points in 37 minutes, 10 of 15 shooting from the field, like 5 of 7 from three-point range. It was something special to behold. This kid can play. I don't know about the Michael Jordan of Delaware, to be quite honest with you. I don't know about it, whether or not that's the appropriate analogy, but this kid is special. And basketball IQ has something to do with it. It's not just about his jump shot. It's not just about his passes. It's his cut to the baskets. It's him seeing plays that don't appear to be seen, that don't appear to be there. All of this stuff matters. Michigan simply didn't have it. And one of the things that jumped out of my mind, beeline and recruiting. Because when you look at these boys, they just could not measure up to Villanova. There was one guy on Michigan, Wagner, out of Germany. And he had like 9 points before the first time out, and he was dominant. But all of a sudden, you get to clamp down on them and your defense amped up. And guess why they did that, ladies and gentlemen? Guess why they were able to do that, ladies and gentlemen? You know why? Because this guy, Xavier Simpson, couldn't do much offensively. I don't care about the 4 of 8 shots for 10 points. He was no threat offensively whatsoever. And his man, whoever was defending him, would help front Wagner. And once that happened, you couldn't get the ball inside to him. And once you couldn't do that, if you're Michigan, you didn't have anything else to offer. Muhammad Ali Abdul-Rahman, he finishes with 23 points, some of the most meaningless 23 points I've ever seen. Xavier Simpson, no threat whatsoever. Livers couldn't do anything, just took 2 shots, didn't make anything. Matthews was relatively neutralized on 3 of 9 shooting for just 6 points. Don't get me started with your bench production. You only scored 7 points off your bench. DiVincenzo had Chenzo. Guy had 18 points in the first half. So I look at Villanova right now. It was everything that you could imagine. And by the way, I didn't forget, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Look, call it whatever you will. The bottom line is that Villanova was a superior team. But I want to be the first to say, can we pump the brakes just a little bit on this being an all-time great team? Can we pump the brakes a little bit here? I know they were a great team. I know that they're exceptionally well coached. I know that Jay Wright is one of the best coaches in college basketball right now. I'd put him top 3. I get all of that. DiVincenzo can ball. Jalen Brunson is a baller. Spellman can ball. Bridges can ball. Pascal showed you he could ball. I get all of that. But let's not act like, oh, excuse me, they'd have ran roughshod over UNLV in 1990. Or UConn in 1999. Or Jay Williams' Duke Blue Devils in 2000. Or Duke's team with Hurley and Leitner and Grant Hill. Let's not act like, oh, my goodness, you know what, this team right here, excuse me, I mean, this might be the greatest team in the history of college basketball. Can we pump the brakes just a little bit? Can we do that? Because I ain't going that far. They're an exceptional team that's exceptionally well coached, that deserves to be celebrated. And oh, by the way, as an aside, there's some news percolating that when this kid, Dante DiVincenzo, was in high school, it was something on a Twitter account. We used the N-word and all. Will y'all stop it? I'm not saying that if it happened, it's okay. But damn it, he's a kid. And he just won the national title. Could you leave him alone? Kids say things sometimes. He's not some seasoned elder statesman experienced in the world of corporate America and knowledgeable enough to avoid what minefields and pitfalls where he's a kid. Leave him alone. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not saying you condone that. I'm saying the kid was in high school. And if indeed he's got some Twitter account with the N-word or stuff like that, homophobic slurs or whatever the case they're trying to say that is, it's unfortunate, fine. You get rid of it, fine. You make sure he knows not to do it again, fine. All of those things are true. But I don't want to hear that in the immediate aftermath of a national championship win where he's the most outstanding player. And he puts up that performance. You had plenty of opportunities to bring that up in the past. What the hell you doing it now for? He wins a championship, and now this is the time to bring that up? If they bring it up to him again, Dante DiVincenzo, I hope that you're listening to me. Simple apology would do. I'm a young man. I made a mistake. I spoke out of turn. I didn't know any better. I apologize. And move on. This ain't the time for all of that. I can't stand when people do that. You had nothing to say when he was bowling. You had nothing to say when he's sitting up there and busting his tail and playing lights out. But he wins the championship. He's a champion. And now this is the first time I'm hearing this story. I don't want to hear it now. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Leave him alone. He's a kid. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'm not condoning and okaying anything. That's not what I'm doing here. Hell, we've seen the damage that kids can do. We don't need to bring all of that up. I understand it. But I want to hear about this story when you had ample time to bring it up, and all of a sudden, the night he wins a national championship, you want to rain on his parade. Stop. He balled. That's the Dante DiVincenzo we're going to talk about today. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Speaking of Villanova, staying right there. Obviously, there are people out there asking this question. Now that Jay Wright has won 2 of the last 3 national titles, should he leave Villanova and maybe go coach the 76ers? I got 2 things to say about that. Number 1, it's a choice between comfort and talent and challenge. If you want a new challenge, you look for an NBA job. If happiness and comfort matters to you and your family, you stay at Villanova. It's very simple. It's not hard. But as it pertains to the Philadelphia 76ers, let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. Brett Brown should not lose his job, even for Jay Wright. Brett Brown is doing a damn good job. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the first opportunity he's had to coach a team. The first 3 years, this process that y'all constantly praise, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. It's disgusting. The Philadelphia 76ers, the last 2 years before last season, won a grand total of 28 games. Last season, they won 28 games. In a 3-year span, they won 47 games. 47 games in 3 years. They were an absolute travesty. It was a miscarriage of justice what they did to the city of Philadelphia. Losing not games, but seasons on purpose. And y'all want to talk about enjoying the process. I don't want to hear that. And Brett Brown finally has a team to coach. They're on a 10-game winning streak, which right now is the longest winning streak in basketball. They are 46-30. They have the potential to have a 50-win season. They have clinched a playoff spot. They are in position to capture the number 3 overall seed, if not the number 4 overall seed in the Eastern Conference. As great as Jay Wright is, and I know he's great, as phenomenal as a coach as he is, and I know he is, he does not deserve the job over Brett Brown to coach the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think Jay Wright would be one of the first to acknowledge that. I do not want to hear that from anybody. Brett Brown's first year coaching a basketball team is this year. The Sixers have been nothing short of a disgrace for the last 4 years. Or at least 3 years, if you don't want to count last year. That's why Brian Colangelo is there to begin with. Because his daddy, Jerry Colangelo, preceded him. And Jerry Colangelo arrived there because the commissioner of the NBA had to intervene by having a conversation with ownership for the Philadelphia 76ers because they were throwing seasons. This is the same commissioner that put out a note to teams about the importance of not tanking. And how if it's something that was going on and the league became aware of it, there would be repercussions. Ladies and gentlemen, that's for games. I have no problem with the Chicago Bulls if they decide to throw these last few games. Season's over. You ain't going to the playoffs. Trying to position yourself for the best lottery pick you could get. I understand that. Philadelphia 76ers didn't do that. In the days of Sam Hinkie and Josh Harris and those boys, they were throwing seasons on purpose and telling the city this ahead of time. And it was allowed. It's an absolute disgrace. It's inexcusable. And there is no way that should ever be allowed. There's more than one way to build a team, not just with the draft and saving cap space. As an executive, you're supposed to have the cachet to go out there and build a team through free agency. You're supposed to sit up there and ingratiate yourself with agents and attract free agents to your team. You're supposed to pull off trades and make things happen. I can run a basketball team right now if you tell me I got 4 or 5 years to lose on purpose and just stockpile picks and create cap space. All I got to do is hire a capologist. Who the hell can't do that job? So I don't want to hear it. Not even a little bit. 888. Say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That's item number 2 that I had on my list. Item number 3 is transitioning to the sport of the National Football League. Ladies and gentlemen, how can I put this? I went off yesterday, a little bit anyway, about the former head coach at the UCLA Bruins, Jim Mora Jr. I went off a little bit more this morning on First Take because Jim Mora went on the record talking about Josh Rosen, his quarterback at UCLA, before Jim Mora was unceremoniously dismissed last November. And if you remember, and if you recall, one of the things that I lamented was the quote that he said about Josh Rosen. I thought was wrong. I thought was cruel. And I thought Jim Mora Jr. deserved to be held to the carpet for it. If you recall, and I don't have the exact quote right in front of me at this particular moment, but if you recall, Jim Mora basically said that Josh Rosen needed to be challenged intellectually. I'm going to read the quote because I just found it. He said, Josh Rosen needs to be challenged intellectually so he doesn't get bored. He's a millennial. He wants to know why. Millennials, once they know why, they're good. Josh has a lot of interest in life. If you can hold his concentration level and focus only on football for a few years, he will set the world on fire. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought that was an incredibly incredibly shady quote on the part of Jim Mora Jr. Because my belief was, wait a minute, you're saying this before the draft. You're questioning his commitment to football. How in God's name could you do that? And think that that won't have a negative impact on him? And then there were folks that came to me and said, wait a minute, Stephen A. Mainly my producers, Jonathan Winthrop, Nuno Texiera. They came to me and they said, look, could Jim Mora Jr. be doing this to make sure that the Browns don't draft Josh Rosen because he knows that Rosen doesn't want to go to Cleveland? That could be it. And as a result, by doing that, it basically ensures that Cleveland might be turned off by it and go in a different direction. You notice that Jim Mora backtracked a little bit and said he wasn't talking about Dave Gettleman and all of this other stuff because he wouldn't mind going to the Giants, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. That might make sense as it pertains to Cleveland. Here's the problem, in my humble opinion, with the Jim Mora quote. It should affect any team with a top 5 pick. It should affect any team with a top 10 pick. It should affect any team with a high first-round pick in desperate need of a quarterback because what you said about Josh Rosen should be a turnoff. Should be a turnoff for any team looking for a quarterback to lead its franchise into the future. You can't do that. You cannot sit up there and tell a fan base and tell an organization filled with men who have to pay mortgages and feed their families. This ain't college. You don't get to just play and go to class. This is professional sports. This is real big-time business. And you cannot sit up there and say that about a kid that hasn't been drafted yet and think that that won't turn off prospective teams. You can't sit up there and say, well, you know what? I don't want him to get drafted by Cleveland. But you know what? The Giants at number 2 or the Jets at number 3 or Indianapolis at number 6 or Denver at number 5, they'll take him. No, they won't. You can't do that. You cannot put this kid in a position where there are people who are going to question his commitment. You cannot do that. To do something like that, you've minimized his value. You've compromised it. You put him in a position where you have directly and drastically potentially affected his money. Because you did this before he was drafted. That's what Jim Mora did. And when you take into account the fact that this man has coached in the NFL, coached 3 years in Atlanta, where Michael Vick is on the record noting that he took the playbook and threw it into the trunk of his car. And the man coached in Seattle for 1 year where he was 5-11. So that he could, bring forth the Pete Carroll era as his successor. This man knows what the NFL is like. Jim Mora Jr. knows what the NFL is like. He knows what comes with it. He knows that you don't just say something like that and it's not going to devalue the very people that you're talking about. And to do that to Josh Rosen, I may not be able to question his intent because he may have meant well. But I got to tell you something. He's compromised him. Here's a quote, an additional quote from Mora about Josh Rosen. Do I think he's the best quarterback in the draft? No, I think he's the best player in the draft. How about that? Mora said on the NFL Network. Does that mean I think he's a fit for every team? No. I think being schooled by Giants coach Pat Shurmur, great fit for a guy as smart as Josh Rosen. To be in a room with Jets quarterback coach Jeremy Bates, great fit for a guy like Josh Rosen. I think he'll excel. Basically what he's saying is, I want Josh Rosen to land in New York. I don't want him to land in Cleveland. My problem is, if I'm any of the New York teams, why would I want Josh Rosen after a quote like that? Would you want him? Are you sure? You're the Jets, and you've been starving for a quarterback for ages, why should Josh Rosen get picked ahead of Baker Mayfield? 83 touchdowns and just 14 interceptions in the last 2 seasons and guided his team to a Final Four appearance in the national semifinal. Why should I pick Josh Rosen ahead of Josh Allen with his tremendous upside, with a hunger to come with it because he was mired at Wyoming instead of being at one of the big-time football programs? Why should I take a chance on any of them and pass on Saquon Barkley if indeed Cleveland snatches Sam Darnold with the number 1 overall pick? These are all legitimate questions. And Jim Mora is at the heart of it because of his willingness to open his mouth in such a way that it doesn't say, I don't want to go to Cleveland, Josh Rosen. It says, I don't know if you should take Josh Rosen unless the situation is ideal because he's an intellectual and he may get bored easily and he has other interests and he may not be that interested. It may not be wise, rather, to take him with a top 5 pick in the draft. If Jim Mora was looking out for the best interest of Josh Rosen, why did Josh Rosen tweet, why? ? That's all he tweeted. Why? ? In other words, Coach, why would you do this? Josh Rosen didn't deserve that. I don't care what anybody says. 888. Say ESPN. That's the number to call us. 888-729-3776. Straight Talk Wireless nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. That's something to consider. It's something to think about. My man Keyshawn Johnson, he's a fan of Josh Rosen. Knows what he's talking about. He's alluded on several occasions to how Josh Rosen's got all the good stuff. Might be the best in the draft, hands down. And he may be good. That still doesn't take away from the fact that Jim Mora opened his mouth in a manner he should not have.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people!
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A!
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
March means one thing. Basketball, basketball, basketball. Did you know that college players born in North Dakota are historically the most accurate three-point shooters? The NCAA is using Google Cloud to turn data into insights, and so can your business. See how at g.co/March Madness. Google Cloud, the official cloud of the NCAA.
Turn off the lights. Light a candle. Tonight, I'm in a romantic mood, yeah. Let's take a shower. Shower together. I'll wash your body and you'll wash mine, yeah. Surprise a friend or a loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. 31 minutes past hour number 2. Back here at the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Trust me, y'all, I know I can't sing. That's why I love doing it. I love irritating folks. You know what I'm saying? Especially my family members that are listening to the show because they know I can't sing. I used to wake people up in the morning trying to sing. That's just what I did. Because I can. Back to the phones we go. At 888-SAY-ESPN, it's 888-729-3776. By the way, I'm not concerned about my Yankees. They'll be fine. I am worried about them damn Houston Astros. They look real. It's one thing to be a champion. It's another thing to follow that up by looking like a champion from opening tap, putting everybody on notice. Here we come. I am concerned. Los Angeles Dodgers, I don't know what the hell is wrong with y'all. Jansen, get it together. Get it together. And don't be telling people, hey, I ain't worried about nothing. It's just a game. I know you got to forget past performances, but you got to bring up that velocity. Could you pretty please with your going tie? And don't think I'm going to sleep on those San Francisco Giants either. I don't care how awful they may look. I don't care how subpar they may look. The fact of the matter is they always have a down year and then they come back and win championships. It's what they do. Just me thinking. Bryce Harper be good, but don't be too good. Get ready to leave the nation's capital. You should be in a bigger market. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Josh in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing? I just have 2 quick questions for you.
Yes, sir.
First question is, the kid Dante who got most outstanding player last night,
yes.
If he enters the draft, do you think he has a shot at actually getting drafted?
Yeah. I think that he'll get drafted. He'll get picked up either late in the first round or he'll be a second-round pick. He's got decent size on him, and he's got a jump shot. And he's proven that he shows up on the big stage. That matters to NBA scouts. So I think he got a chance, but I think that if he comes back and the show is his, particularly if Jalen Brunson leaves, then you're talking about him potentially being a lottery pick next year.
Okay. And the second question is, if the Cleveland Cavaliers somehow match up with the Philadelphia 76ers, do you think they can actually pull it off if they're healthy?
No. No, they're not beating LeBron. They're not beating LeBron. They're not beating LeBron. Washington's not beating LeBron. You ain't beating LeBron in the first round. You ain't beating LeBron in the first round. I can't see that happening, but I will tell you this. There is no great, even if LeBron lost in the first round, there is no greater defeat, no greater stain on his legacy than if LeBron loses to Kyrie Irving in these playoffs. I'm not talking about next year and beyond, but this year, if LeBron were to lose to Kyrie Irving, it would be very bad for him. It would be very bad. That I will tell you. Appreciate the call. Bumbo in Charlotte, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What is going on, Stephen A? I was going to talk to you about this Jalen Brunson kid and how just watching the game, he reminds me of Kyle Lowry. But
he doesn't.
I see that he's probably.
I don't see Jalen Brunson being like Kyle Lowry. I thought Kyle Lowry is feisty like him, but Kyle Lowry was much faster and much faster and much more formidable defensively.
Yeah, but it still seem to have the same body type. I mean, Brunson is a little bit taller, but
no,
when I see the body type,
taller and bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And looking at the game, his post game, I mean, he looks like he can be a point guard that even if you get him in a later round, he can make the rotation and possibly be in the starting point guard for years to come.
He's steady. He's steady. And I think that he'll stabilize a ship as a point guard on the next level. I can see Jalen Brunson in the draft being picked up late in the first round and being in the NBA for a decade. I could see that.
But let me ask you this before I go to my next question. When I believe it's around 5 minutes in the first half, when he started to get hype, and basically that got that team going. What was in your mind when you seen that happen? Because you could clearly see that the guy's a leader and he gets that team going when he speaks up.
Yeah, you're wrong person to ask, because for me last night, all I could think about was how overwhelmed Michigan looked. So last night wasn't a good example. Move on to your next question because I got to go.
All right. Well, next question. I'm a big Miami Heat fan. I'm looking at the next 2 years, and I see there's going to be some guys out there like Kawhi Leonard, Klay Thompson, Damian Lillard. We know Pat Riley always had some tricks up his sleeve. And looking at this offseason with Kawhi, what guy do you see possibly being somebody that could possibly want to come to Miami?
Klay Thompson?
Yeah. I agree with you on that. And when he did his All-Star interview,
I personally believe Klay Thompson. I have no evidence. This is just a personal opinion. I've never asked him about it. Perhaps I will. But when I think about Klay Thompson, if not Golden State, I see 2 places: L.A. with the Lakers or South Beach. That's what I see with Klay Thompson.
Just to follow up your point, when he did his All-Star interview during the All-Star break, they asked him about the places he'd like to visit. And one thing he said, somewhere warm. And the first place he mentioned was Miami. So with that said, I'll just leave it at that. I hope so.
Appreciate it. We'll see. Listen, can't rule Pat Riley and the Miami Heat out. First class organization. I love me some Pat Riley and Mickey Arison, his son Nick. Great people. You look at Eric Spoelstra, great young coach. I think he's proven himself to be a phenomenal young coach. It's just that Brad Stevens is so incredibly impressive in Boston. And I think that Brad Stevens is so great that he's made it easier for organizations to embrace the notion that a great college coach like Jay Wright can coach on the NBA level, because that's how well Brad Stevens has done in terms of his communication with the modern day player combined with his basketball know-how. Brad Stevens is the best young coach in basketball on any level. He's that special. But Jay Wright is a guy that's proven he can coach as well. just shouldn't be coaching the Sixers at Brett Brown's expense right now with the way Brett Brown is doing, considering the suffering that he was subjected to his first 3 years on the job. By the way, guys, it's time to give your bathroom the cleaning it deserves. Freshen it up with high-quality products from Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club delivers razors, shave butter, shampoo, body wash, toothpaste, everything right to your door. Clean up your bathroom and your daily routine. Join Dollar Shave Club today for just $5 with free shipping. You'll get the 6-blade executive razor plus trial sizes of shave butter, body cleanser, and 1 wipe Charlie's. Then keep the blades coming for a few bucks more a month. Get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/Stephen A. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Stephen A.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.